fair assumption that what you just did, walk through all of it, that's going to be one of the essay questions?
Well, I thought somebody would ask that question.
One
So,
in every class.
yes, it's a very astute question. It's a very good question. And what I have to say to that question is that everything that I just said in terms of the connections and the theological walkaways for this class specifically, in terms of what I've just given you, I would love all of you to have an opportunity to think about these things and put them in your own words and kind of have it in your heart and in your head in such a way that it will impact your future ministry, your present ministry. I just answered in what? Yeah. You're just so matter of fact today. Yeah. Yes, in your future grade. Not that we're all here because of grades. We're here for preparation, and I think these things help. And I didn't used to have this thinking. I didn't have this ability to kind of weave together the Old Testament. But when I was over and I did this, I had a whiteboard in China one of the years I went there to teach, and I was teaching pastors of the illegal church. Oops. Anyway, that's okay. And could have gotten arrested for what I was doing. And I did a talk of all of the Old Testament on a whiteboard where I just mapped it out, and I kind of gave the whole historical timeline, and I dropped all of the books, all 39 books, into its proper historical place and talked about the books as if the author was speaking to an audience. And I was amazed. The cell phones came out, people came up and they were taking pictures of it, and it was like the light bulbs just went on. And I was like amazed at, and I did it because I was thinking, how can I pull this together? Because I just had them for 3 days. So I started my class that way, and it was like boom, 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 and it was like they'd never seen it before. Nobody had ever given them the ability to talk about all of the books of the Old Testament in a way that makes them come alive and speak and say something in kind of a sequence. Even though we don't know all the authors' names, but we talk about the authors as if they're real, and there's a real audience there. So that's kind of like that's a passion of mine, and I'd like it to be yours as well. I just answered your question. Yeah,
that's
there you go.
Exactly what has happened for me.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. That's good. Some students say I've never, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. Toot my own horn here. Hoot my own horn. No, toot my own horn. But a professor did this for me once, and I was never the same. So now I'm an Old Testament professor, but I was always thankful for that professor who did that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. It's an interesting one because
of course it's interesting.
Yeah, I read through the book of Judges and I discovered something.
Okay.
Based on the thesis statement of the book of Judges, Judges 17 verse 6, and Judges 18 verse 1, and Judges 19 verse 1, and Judges 21-25.
Oh, the multiple mentions of there was no king. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it seems to be a big idea, right?
I discovered something.
Okay.
In Judges 9, can we read Judges 9:6 and Judges 9:22?
Judges 9:6 and Judges 9:22. Yeah, go ahead.
It's about one of the sons of Gideon from the concubine.
Judges 9:6.
Yeah, Judges 9:6 and Judges 9:22.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it talks about Gideon's son who killed the other 70 sons and eventually became a king for 3 years in Israel. Mm-hmm. So I think there was a reference to a king being established in Israel at that time, during the time of Judges as well.
What verse were you reading just now?
Judges 9:6.
9:6. Judges 9:6. All the men of Shechem and Beth Millah assembled together, and they went and made Abimelech king by the oak of Pillar, which was in Shechem.
And go to 22.
Okay. Now Abimelech ruled over Israel 3 years. Well, his name means my dad is king. Gideon was the one who says, no, I'm not going to be your king. Remember? he denies kingship, and then he names his son Abimelech. I think in the eyes of the author, who says there was no king in Israel, that's just, this is no king. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't count. This isn't, yeah. He's maybe even more emphatically, I didn't bring that into my lecture when we talked about it early in the semester, but the more I think about it, maybe I should, in terms of showing how this is, the whole book is a world turned upside down. So this is not a real kingship here. And we know that because of Deuteronomy 17, 14 through 20. And all the men of Shechem and Beth Millo assembled together, and they made Abimelech king. I mean, is God involved in at all in any of that? God, who's supposed to select the king in Israel? Yeah, and we know that because when we get to Samuel 8, 1 Samuel 8, the people assemble just like this, and they go out and, find us a king. Samuel says, I don't want to do that. I know that's not what I'm supposed to do, God. Well, no, I want you to do it. And they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting me. So go do it. Remember? So that's another parallel text to this one. So.
Why I mentioned this is that during the course of the classes, taking notes, you didn't mention it. So I was like...
Okay. Well, I can't mention everything, so sorry. All right. Good question, though. Thank you. Other questions from home?
Yes. Jonathan asks, how many questions will be on the final? Will it be similar?
Bonnie just asked that question.
Not really. Not.
You asked me if there was going to be an essay question.
He wants to know how many total questions, like 25 plus 2 essay, 30 plus 2 essay.
Well, look, I told you I was going to give you a review session. So what we just did was a review session for the final exam. If you can get your heart and brain around this conversation, you'll do really well in the final exam. That's my answer.
Excellent. And so just because the folks at home are listening, Eric, that answers your question, which was, will it be truly comprehensive with an equal number of questions?
Here, I'll give you another a clue to this, to the answer to this question. So Jonathan's question. So I'll admit to everybody in the room, this is an honest admission. I'm not the best quiz question writer on the planet. I'm not. I sometimes write questions that I look back and I say, oh yeah, I should change that wording or that word. Now, sometimes I'm okay. Sometimes I let students know, look, you just overthought the question. Look at it again, or I'll explain the question and justify the way I worded it, or I've rephrased something from the textbook, and it's not a word-for-word match, and a student says, no, it's false because it wasn't word-for-word. That's the whole point. I rephrased it so you'd understand the point that the authors were making. But still, there's an art to that I'm still trying to get better at. And the last thing that I want to do for this final exam is give you all 40 questions written like that. Like, I don't want to do that. So I'm not doing it. So I'm not going to do that. I don't know if I answered your question, Jonathan. So don't ask me another question like that. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You may not like my question.
All right, I'm probably not. Okay, I'll let you know if I don't.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Okay.
But in the midterm, I was very surprised by the question about how to share the gospel out of the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never been really challenged to think like that.
You like that question then?
I did like that.
Oh, okay.
Question, but let me finish my thought.
Oh, okay.
I was not expecting it, I guess, is my point. And I know that the test is unexpected in general, but I think when it comes down to a grade, I want to be so unexpected that there's a lot of points attached to a question that I was completely unexpecting.
Yeah.
So my question in that is related to the final.
An unexpected question. Well, you won't be unexpected and unawares having attended this review session. So you're in good shape. But wait a minute. one of the challenges is holding you all accountable to the fact that you're master's students. So maybe a lot of students along the way have said, oh, I'm not used to these kinds of questions, or a question like that. So it's kind of a higher level question that kind of brings things together. You're pulling from what we've talked about in kind of a new way. And, you're not just regurgitating stuff that you've crammed for the night before.
Well,
not that you do that.
It's on the back burner for me to look at over break.
Okay.
It's something that I do want to, but I don't, but those kinds of questions I feel like are scary for me when it comes down to the fact that I do actually have to make a grade in the class.
Yes. Well, mate, you'll do fine in my class. You'll do really well. And just that you're here, this is the focusing review session. Yes, ma'am.
Just question of clarification. No.
Okay.
What time do you need to set aside for the final? Like how much time?
Oh, you'll have the 2 hours. I don't know if you even need it, but it's going to be there for you. Yeah. Yes.
Lee Whitlock has a content question. Wanting clarification on the term syncretism. He says, is the term syncretism, that is Yahweh culture, the same term we know as dualism, or is there a difference?
I don't think it's the same. Syncretism, as I'm using it, is this equation here. So it's monotheism would be Yahweh plus nothing. So worshiping of one God. Syncretism is worship talking about Yahweh, but inviting someone else into the bedroom. That's the harlotry. That's the syncretism. So that's, the prime example of that is the Judges example of the Levitical priest in the house of Micah. Micah is authorizing syncretism and a syncretistic religion. And there you have the establishment of the household shrine to the gods, pagan gods, but then there's discussion about Yahweh, all in the same house.
And that's different. Dualism, how is his question?
Dualism in the let's see. That is dualism. Is it a philosophical term? I'm trying to remember what that is. To dual. I don't know. That's world religion.
It's like the opposite.
Yeah, I'm thinking of dualism in terms of good, evil, matter, and the dualism between matter and non-matter. Dualism.
I'll ask Lee.
Platonic discussion. But they're worshiping Yahweh. Syncretism could mean others, not just two. That's why I'm thinking they're talking about something different there. Okay. Anybody else have any nervous questions? Sherry? No? You're okay? All right. I think you'll enjoy this final exam. Use this review session. Watch it again if you need to as a study. And you'll be well on the way to doing fine. No worries. But preparing for a final exam is, for a professor, is probably the most valuable thing. Not so much your performance on a particular day, but you're getting your thoughts together. And this is all good exercise to kind of pull together things that we've had spread out over an entire semester. But one more opportunity to do that is the final exam. But this will be helpful for you in your future ministries, I'm sure. Yep.
I just wanted to clarify, do we have an extension on the book review for the 13th? Or was it this Friday still?
No, not this Friday. What did I say? The test window.
13th.
You said one day after the
Watch last week's lecture.
I'm looking at the 13th. I'd like everything due by the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a special case, just let me know.
So I would just listen to this Friday.
No, not this Friday, but the 13th. Oh, okay. Yeah, I changed that.
Crazy.
But that gives everybody a chance after the test window closes. Remember I said if you feel like you bombed it for whatever reason, there's another day to do an extra credit assignment the next day.
When does the test window open again? Is it this Friday?
It'll be on the first day of final exams. So that's coming up this Friday. Yeah, Friday through next Tuesday. So the 12th, midnight. Yeah, the 8th through the 12th, test window. 2-hour exam, open book, open note, everything, just like before. And with the results of today, our discussion, I think you'll do fine. Good. Thanks for coming. All right. I've enjoyed you all this semester in the class. Hope to see some of you in the spring.